Yo, Leighton even brought his freshest shoes for the occasion. I see you, dude.
I gotta disagree, bro. I could go a little fresher than these, bro. Come on now.
Lacing up the Tims in BK.
Yeah, that was such a cool venture.
I still have all that. I still have all like the extra shit.
Yeah.
Like the
we might have to chop some of that stuff up, bro.
Little remix.
Yeah, a little something. Put a little something together.
That's it, man. We on.
Yeah.
This is how we started off. We're
cool.
live.
All right, cool.
So I wanna invite my man Leighton to the show. We've had a lot of heart to hearts, but I need John to start this off for me real quick.
So what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Voice
and Rizzles. Today, as I just mentioned, we have Leighton Grant in the house. That's my man right there.
In the building.
What's up, brother?
How you feeling?
What's going on? I'm feeling good, guys. Good to be here, man.
Thank you.
Really good to be here.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for at least a few weeks, if not months, about having you on here. And I know that, well, let's start off. I met you at Sparta that time when I was doing the shoot for
correct.
Jamal.
Yep.
And from there, we were just chatting it up about cameras and everything in general, because you had just grabbed that camera and you wanted a little advice on what you had to do.
Yeah, but the vibe was there, but definitely, anybody who knows Nicky Rizzles knows that he's got that energy where wherever he is, he's there. So definitely at Bev's, you're always rocking out over there, bunch of energy, bunch of jokes. So I was like, all right, this dude is he's always live. So I had to introduce myself at Sparta and be like, let me just see what this dude is about. And it was cool because actually that shoot was professional. Like all the equipment you had, that's what made me come over and say, listen, we got to do some work, man.
Yo, first time using all those lights too.
Yeah.
Yo, fake it till you make it, I guess, right? Because I was like, how do I turn this one on? All right, we got it.
Right.
But yeah, man, I'm glad that you introduced yourself to me, and over the course of a few months, short time, we became close, obviously, and just talking to you and then doing your video and talking about just your history, your backstory, and how you wanted to help people and show that there is a big bright light at the end of the tunnel, especially in your darkest days.
Right.
And I think that was a phenomenal message and a phenomenal just story as a whole. So, like I said, this is so just wide out there, open. We don't sugarcoat things, anything like that. I want you to tell as much or as little as you want, but think of this as an open forum, because although we did the video and we just haven't posted it yet,
right? We
have the video with Leighton talking about his backstory, talking about everything, and really moving, touching stuff. There's a difference between a 10-minute edited video and something that is more open form, where you can talk about as much and get into the details, where everyone can listen from point A to point B. So, people who don't know you, who is Leighton? Chat it up with me. Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, pretty much the background of me is, I'm a disciplined young man from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? And I found my stride in the fitness industry. You know what I mean? So, getting into fitness, it's been over the past, I would say, 20 years that, I've been involved in fitness. And over that time period, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about a lot of other people. But, the journey's a little deeper because I connect with fitness through my personal situations that I've been through as well. So when we shot, the video we shot, that's what I was talking about. It was more on a personal level of my roots growing up in Brooklyn, seeing some things that maybe a lot of people are afraid to talk about, from the social issues to maybe some areas that are not as resourceful, or kids that just don't have as much opportunity. So growing up in Brooklyn, there was a lot I had to deal with there.
We talked about the gentrification and bringing up the areas that wasn't like that back then.
Right. So as of late, I'm privileged to have trained an actor. And I was back and forth to Brooklyn 6 days a week. And every time I was out there training him, I'm looking at the neighborhood, because I'm traveling through the neighborhoods that, I went to church and, different areas I was growing up and seeing different things. And I mean, it was such a big change. But on the other personal side of things, I think that fitness really keeps things in balance for me because I was diagnosed with mental illness when I turned 19 years old. And the heaviness of that and the lack of exposure that mental illness gets, I think it's detrimental to today's society because a lot of kids are suffering and no one knows how to help them. And I feel like my experience prior to getting that diagnosis, I was always a spiritual dude, young dude, growing up in Brooklyn, but very like spiritual, had some good morals. My parents were very like open about a lot of things, and I had a good upbringing, you know.
And your parents were what? Background, like where were
Oh,
they
okay.
from?
So my parents are from Jamaica.
Cool.
They were born and raised in Jamaica, and then my mother has like 9 siblings that actually live in London.
And I thought Italians had big families,
Yeah,
man.
no.
That's another
So
level.
that's
Yeah.
a big deal right there. And you know, the thing about it is, you know, speaking of my parents, you know, my father's Jamaican, he's black. My mother's Indian and born in Jamaica. So I'm of Indian descent and Jamaican descent. And at that time, that was a big deal for them to even get together because they were fought on it by, you know, family and whatnot. And then my mother's siblings, I have like 4 white uncles. I got like, you know, it's a big mixture. And then you got British accents as well. So
That's crazy, man. So stupid question. Was your mother for an arranged marriage originally? Is that for most families in India? Because I don't know the culture.
I tell you what, you know, for the most part in India, it is an arranged type of deal. With my mother and, I mean, her parents, I believe it was more like, my grandfather was more like, you know, you got to marry someone who is Indian. But I don't think it was on an arranged level.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? But I think even for my pops, it was the same thing. Like my grandmother wanted like, you know, stick to this. And, you know, it was cool because growing up, we didn't know it. My brothers and myself, we didn't see that. All we saw was fun, family, friends. And then, you know, honestly, my grandparents moved to Florida. And that was the first time that my brothers and myself experienced some serious racism.
Really?
Like
in Florida?
Real
Wow.
deal.
What part of
Where-
Florida?
where?
It
I
was
was gonna
Jack-
Sarasota.
fucking Jacksonville. I was about to say.
Orlando, we're up there.
Bunch of fucking racists just hanging out in Jacksonville. Hicks, rednecks.
Nah, like at that time though, it was real because it was in Sarasota and it was like not really developed at the time. They were still building it up. So
I think they're still doing that.
I think they're still building it up, but yeah,
They
but
build it up, a gator knocks it down.
nah, it was eye opening to have you know, you're growing up in Brooklyn and my dad and mom were trying to create a better surrounding for us. So you're sending us to Florida to, you know, sort of keep my grandparents company, and it was different. It was different. Learned a lot. You see a lot of different things. You play more sports. You're out in the sun a lot more. The athletic world is huge out there. So playing soccer and little leagues and all that good stuff was fun. But yeah, that's a bit of the background, man, of coming up and you know, family things and things like that, you know?
So I guess,
Yeah, please go.
how old were you when you were in Florida? Because if that's your first taste of like harsh racism, what age were you really getting that at?
Yeah, that was 9 to 11 years old.
So you were understanding it then at that point, like there's something going on.
Like, it was a real deal. Like I remember, having 2 older brothers. First of all, you get foreshadowed. Like both of my brothers were very thorough dudes. Like they were strong. They handled business. You know, so everyone's always knows you as, oh, that's Paul and Wesley's brother. You know,
Yeah, a little trickle down effect.
So if something did happen, it's because it was authentic. Like, because people know, like, he has a rep. Like, don't fuck with him. Like, his brother's around. But I remember middle school, John, to answer your question. I remember like we were in gym, and that was the first time I heard a white dude say the word nigga, and I was like, he put the ER on the end. He didn't.
No, it was hard.
It wasn't.
It was hard.
Yeah,
It was
like
direct.
and that was the first. That was the first, you know, like physical encounter that I got into at 11 years old. Because me and a couple of the other dudes, it was like, you know, that was it. You know, it triggered it off. So
It's unexpected, right? It's out of nowhere.
it was unexpected, but you know, you could feel tension. You could feel, you know, we're talking like minority. Like it was in most classes growing up out there. I was like one of 2 black dudes in the class. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it was.
so they were fighting the change.
Yeah,
and they were
oh,
fighting
big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
instead of embracing it. Like I just said to you before,
100%.
dude, I love hanging out with everybody.
Yeah,
you learn something
you're black.
new.
You're definitely black.
That's it.
Don't even say that. Don't say you love hanging with everybody. You're definitely, you know more music than I do in the hip hop culture. So don't start that, man.
Yeah.
You're definitely black. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with Tribe Called Quest. My pops was bumping in the car.
There you go.
My pops grew up in Queens, and same thing with him. You know, I talked to him when I was little. He talked to me like I was a grown-ass man, and
Right.
he just kept it real. Love everybody, be with everybody. Everyone's got their own way of teaching you different things, and, you know, you don't learn everything just from staying in your clique, your group, your this and that. And then by being around everybody, you get a ton of different great experiences, and you have fun, man. It's
100%.
just...
Yeah. I think that even today I was scrolling through the Instagram and I saw Ray Allen posted something about bigotry, and, you know, he defined it, you know, and to sum it up, what he was saying is that it's learned. Most things are learned. You know what I'm saying? And I read a book called The Power of Self-Esteem, and it talks about at the age of 18 how you have to unlearn what you've learned most of your life, because your teachers, parents, siblings, whatever, everyone has been teaching and molding you according to their standards. And once you get to a certain age, a certain level, you have to now make better decisions for yourself. And at the age of 18, you have to undo some of the things that you may have been through. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And funny enough, I'm saying to you, at 19, I was diagnosed with a mental illness. So imagine, you know, I probably came up with so many things going on internally for myself. I know that learning to express yourself is first and foremost, you know, being honest, being open is a big deal. So I also want to touch on what my diagnosis was, because a lot of people hear mental illness, but I want to touch on the details.
Which I don't even know. You didn't mention to me during our video.
So let me make sure that, you know, because these are details that I'm going to cover when we shoot again, which I won't unveil too much, but we got another shoot coming up and we got more things to do. But the details of it is pretty much, they said I had psychosis NOS.
And what specifically is that?
So NOS means not otherwise standing. I had so many symptoms that they couldn't classify me in one realm, meaning I had schizophrenia, hallucinations, I was hearing voices, paranoid, obsessive compulsive disorder. Like, you know, at the time that it was going on, I was like taking 5 showers a day. My pretty much my behavior was erratic. I wasn't sleeping. It was there were so many symptoms, and once I finally was admitted into the institute, I went to like 5 groups a day. So it was like I would be amongst people who had schizophrenia and be in group therapy with them. Then I would be amongst people who were obsessive compulsive disorder, be in groups with them.
Wow.
So it wasn't like I had these minor symptoms. They were major. And I believe that in life, you have a calling, you have a purpose. And sometimes some of the worst things that happen to you can be used towards your purpose, towards your calling. Not everything negative can be taken and pull you down into more negativity. You can choose other paths, other ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was a tough thing for me, but I also felt like I was prepared for those situations, because growing up, I say it a lot that I was spiritual. Being spiritual, both of my parents are pastors. So growing up in a spiritual household, but yet they were down to earth, you learned a lot about having faith. You learned a lot about having hope. But then I think the missing component sometimes with spirituality or with fitness or with anything else is balance. And when you lack balance, you know, building your mind up, building your body up, they go hand in hand.
Mind, body, soul.
Mind, body, soul. So my spirituality played a big role, because from the age of 12, I was doing a lot of fasting. I was praying on my own. I was just doing this for myself. And I feel like that was like a purpose for me to go through, you know, fasting, praying, wanting to help people. That was a purpose for me, because I was preparing for this. I was preparing for this today, to tell people about how to really get through the hump of depression, schizophrenia, and the other symptoms that I told you guys about.
Yeah, it's like playing the cards you dealt in life like it's the hand you wanted.
Exactly.
Just play your own way. You know, maybe this isn't the best hand for this role.
Right.
But let's see what happens next turn. You know what? Now it's time. Boom, you put it down.
And that's a tough thing to actually put that into play, because in the world that I was in, it is a matter of life and death. depression is a matter of life and death for a lot of people who don't know that you can get help, who don't know that, no, you're not different. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? It's not that you're not good enough. You just need help to understand how to get out of where you are, you know? I was at a point at one time where I would sleep 13 hours a day, and I didn't want to see the sun, and I was on medication. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now to say that I'm running my own business, to say that I'm, you know, training all these people and doing what I'm doing now, and I'm up at 4:30 in the morning and, you know, looking to do another show and have competed and all this stuff is like, it's a blessing, but it takes a lot of work, you know? And I think the missing component for most people is that work ethic is number one. You have to have a work ethic to get out of anything, to get towards something. It takes work ethic. It takes being diligent. It takes having a supportive group around you. So, you know, I think me speaking about these situations and me talking about like what I've been through, I hope it exposes information to people so they know, oh, well, I don't have to suffer. I don't have to give up. And I really, it bothers me because we talked about racism, we talked about bigotry, but the bottom line is that when you have a mental illness, there's no race attached to it. You know what I mean? Like, people are suffering. And I think the biggest divide is either right and wrong, evil and good.
Yeah.
That's what I sum it up to. Like, I want to do the right thing as much as I can for as long as I can. You know, and even being here today, of course, I've had a heavy heart because I lost one of my best friends growing up. So rest in peace, Micro. I got to shout you out. And that's been tough for me too. Like, you know, losing a very close friend from Brooklyn, growing up together. So I just want to pay some homage to him as well.
Yeah, of course.
But being here with you guys and doing this is like, you know, it's my way of honoring the legacy of my mother, honoring the legacy of Micro, and, you know, again, continuing on a path to help people. You know what I mean? Helping them to understand that, listen, there's hope. You got to fight. You got to push. And hopefully people tune in to the podcast and the videos we're doing. And this is just the beginning, man. I hope I can even come back again and do this again.
Oh,
just
of course.
just to keep putting the word out.
Listen, if we invite you once, you're in. It's like
It's like
a golden ticket to a club. That's it. You keep coming back whenever we want.
I'm in.
Yeah,
the second time you bring the snacks, though.
Yes, you got to bring snacks.
We didn't ask you the first time, but next time you got them.
Y'all just make a list. I got you. I got you covered.
Done.
I want to backtrack. I want you to talk about. I want to talk about leaving Florida, coming to Brooklyn, what the difference was culture-wise, because that must have been a culture shock, going from Florida to Brooklyn.
Yeah. I mean, so.
And what part of Brooklyn was it?
Yeah, so we grew up in the Flatbush area. So I was born in Brooklyn. From 1 to 9, I was in Brooklyn.
Oh, so then you went down to Florida.
Then,
gotcha.
So 4th grade was when I went down to Florida. So that was a shock because even the lunch was different. The pizza was actually shaped like pizza. And in Brooklyn, it was got this oval thing. I don't remember what that was, but you didn't want to eat. You didn't want to eat the lunch in Brooklyn at times. But in Florida, it was like they had some serious burgers, they had some serious pizza. You know, like, but it was a culture shock going to Florida because Florida, like I said, it was more athletics. You know, you're playing more soccer. You know, my brothers were into football and track and all that good stuff. And then coming back to Brooklyn was where the shock settled in.
Yeah, and what age did you come back to
now
Brooklyn?
Coming back, I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Going into 7th grade, so you're in middle school. And I saw most of the people from PS 251, shout out to PS 251, 50s, 40s, Flatbush Avenue, all that good stuff. But
you did that shout out in the video when I was editing it. And I said, I got to keep that in. I don't know what it means, but I got to keep it in. I'm like Google searching, what's a 40 and a 50?
So 40s, I grew up on 49th Street, and you had the 40s, you had the 50s, and within that territory, you had pretty much a village of family.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
you
cool,
had a village of family. So growing up in Brooklyn, you know, I go back today, even on Instagram, I've been reconnecting with so many people that, you know, I haven't touched base with in a long time. And it's a village of pure family. You know, you just don't leave the roots.
That's what social media is for.
Yeah.
It's not
That's what
for
it's
ass
supposed to be
shots
for.
every 3.5 minutes.
I agree. So bottom line is, it was shocking coming back to middle school. I was totally different. It was it was tough for me to adjust at first, and then you reconnect, you get back in cahoots, and then 7th to 9th to 8th, 7th, 8th was middle school. Going into South Shore, where I started as a freshman, that was tough.
And now now let me ask you real quick, and then you can continue. Was this predominantly a white or black school?
Predominantly black.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a huge black community, Latin community. You had a small population of white students, and it was funny because I remember like they would all go to the AP classes and like the smart classes, and all of us, everybody else was just out. Like we had like a wall that we held up, and that was it. You repped where you were from, but our school was like overpopulated. So you had so many different people coming from different places. Like I told you about the 40s, the 50s, but you had dudes coming from, Brownsville. You had dudes coming from East New York. So it was overpopulated and created sometimes too much tension.
Yeah.
I remember before break, like, teachers getting beat up before break. And it was like a ritual. I'm like, y'all like
they're grown ass adults just trying to enjoy their fucking break. Just like, Merry Christmas, everybody.
They was sent on their break the right way, the wrong way. But I mean, it was bad. It was bad. Seeing that was just like it was sad, like, and that's my whole point. Like talking about a lot of this stuff, I personally feel like, if I talk about the mental illness, if I talk about fitness. Bottom line is you got to build up the health of an individual, and I think that starts with a simple thing, which is called loving yourself. And I think there's not enough of that, not enough people letting you know that you should love yourself more, and that you are special, and that you do have potential. And I feel like coming from that background, those kids need to hear that, because when you look at gang activity and you look at kids being willing to get jumped into something, right? And you're willing to go through pain. You're willing to get hit. You're willing to go through as much pain as possible and prove yourself to your people.
Put your life on the line.
Put your life on the line. Why? Because that's where your love is, though. They're loving you. They're saying they have your back. And imagine that. Like that to me is like where things have to change, where we need to make sure that we teach the right things, because school is not going to teach you how to love yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big deal, like, from a culture standpoint, from a neighborhood standpoint, I think that families and people need to do better, because society, as you can see, there's tension everywhere. Yeah. It's everywhere, and it's spreading. It's not going to get any better if you're not putting time into investing into yourself.
Yeah, it's like unlearning everything 18 and prior. Until the school system can catch up to teaching people what they need to do in modern day life, you got to forget it all. Because if you look at the school system nowadays, it's made to listen to somebody, do exactly what they say, eat at this time, do this, sit down, raise your hand, be perfect. There's no creative juices flowing. You know what I mean? Even in art class, it's you have to draw this fruit. Well, I don't like bananas. Well, tough shit. You have to do this, you have to do this. Even a class that's supposed to be creative. Yeah. This is a room right now of 3 people that completely went against everything we've learned in school. Right. Go to school, get a job, and then you can have a salary and retire and
white
be happy.
White picket fence with a family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I fucking hated school.
Yeah, me too.
I will go on the record and say I fucking hated school. I never enjoyed school. I would always cut class and I'd go play handball in high school.
Yeah, but I mean, that's why, shout out to Gary Vee, Yeah. I'm sure you guys keep up with him. Like, Gary Vee talks a lot about school, but I think there's like 3 forms of education right now. You got the school system. Mm-hmm. You have your family and your home and your moral values, if that's high or low. And then you have the actual social media. Like, kids have phones these days that, to me, educate them more than other people are educating them.
Oh, hands down.
It's really important that, as people, we still have levels of communication.
I didn't have anybody when I started videos.
Right.
I didn't know what I was doing. Exactly. I had YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I had a couple of tutorials. I had, because I started using Adobe software. I had Adobe tutorials, and I started learning that way, and just fidgeting around with the camera. But I went to school for public relations, and all through high school, it's not that I wasn't a good student. I've always been street smart. Okay. I've always been very have my wits about me. I can learn on the fly. I have to do it myself to learn. I don't like being lectured. I don't like sitting in a hall and having somebody just tell me a bunch of facts that I'm never going to fucking need or use again. I want useful information. That's why I like Gary Vee. I like podcasts. I like stuff like this because, you know, it teaches you about real life situations, not one singular event that happens in a textbook.
And all those teachers that were teaching in the first place, all the professors, they were all preaching exactly what I was saying before. Go to school, get a job. They teach you to go to school to get a job, and they hate their fucking job.
Hate it.
They hate it. They hate it.
Hate it.
And that's sad. That's just a sad
It's
thing.
really, it's sad, but it's also pathetic.
Yeah,
You can
without a
realize,
purpose.
hey, I made a mistake. You could either A, do something on the side while you're a teacher and try to escape from it, or B, be a little bit more real with the kids.
Yeah.
Say, look, I understand that everybody's telling you this, and that's a safe path for a lot of people, but don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Okay, don't laugh because I know you're gonna laugh.
right.
Okay, we're gonna say this statement and then we're gonna move on. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I want to go back to him.
I'm going to turn the mic around so I don't laugh.
Wait. My ex now. Okay. Okay. My ex now, as of like yesterday, she was a teacher, or she is a teacher. She still does it. She's a teacher. She absolutely hates her job. Hates it.
And
Exactly to prove your point. That's why.
and how many years has she been a teacher?
Long time. She started in the Bronx.
Yeah.
She was doing the Bronx for a long time, and then she went down to, now she's teaching special ed.
But how many years?
Oh, she was 31, so I don't know. She started when she was 21, I guess maybe 10 years. She has tenure now, so.
Damn.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so she 10 years, fucking
they-
hates it. She's
but
thinking
there
about
you go.
quitting it. She would always tell me about wanting to quit it just so she could teach spin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a good idea either.
Yeah, it's not a great idea. No, it's not a great idea
That's
either.
not a good idea either.
No, but hey, I'm not.
But it wouldn't hurt to do it on the side. School ends at 3.
You remember Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Ever watch Game of Thrones here?
What?
Remember,
I didn't see the final season. So
That's okay. No.
All right.
So Game of Thrones with oh my God, Jon Snow, when they revive him and he kills all the people that betrayed him. Just like, this is my line when I get out of a relationship. Just like that, my watch has ended. It doesn't matter to me now. Best of luck. Anyway, so Leighton, how was
Segue back to
what did you? I knew he was gonna laugh though.
Of course.
What did
Oh, got me with was the spin.
Yeah, my ex. It was like, okay.
There we go.
So
Wow.
coming back to Brooklyn,
Yeah.
the tension between everybody.
Yeah, it was just a lot going on. But you know, again, the one thing I will say is, again, in the 40s and 50s, there was a village, it was a family atmosphere.
Everybody got a hot plate.
Yo, listen, man, you came to the crib, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Mom wasn't playing around.
Have it on the stove, ready to go.
I tell you that right now. Anybody
plate.
came,
Hot plate.
You know the right guys. They got you a hot box, and, and it was a good night. You're laughing because you know it's true.
Now, listen, man, I ain't knocking it.
So going, obviously, high school, went its way. When did you start noticing that you were having some, I won't say issues, but differences in what you normally felt, I guess? Or was it always there?
Nah, you know what? It was crazy because, like I said, I was spiritual. I was happy. I was playing sports. I was good throughout high school. I actually went to South Shore for 2 years, and then the family moved out to Elmont. So shout out to Elmont as well. That's the second family. So in Elmont, it was different opportunities. Like there weren't metal detectors at the door. Like it was different. It was a little more open, a little more carefree. So going there, I was playing sports. A lot of people in Elmont don't even know that I grew up in Brooklyn. They thought I grew up in Elmont with them. That's how much of a family atmosphere it was. So lately, a lot of them have been like, wait, you was from Brooklyn? I'm like, yeah, like I came in 11th grade to Elmont. And again, everything was cool. Everything was smooth. I did a year at St. John's. And after that was when things were falling apart, bro.
Mentally.
Yeah, like I was straight up hyper. I was overactive. Like I took a trip out to Florida, and I was, looking after my grandmother. And when I came back from Florida, something was just off. Like my chemistry in my body was off. So.
And what were you feeling?
Oh man, I felt an extreme level of being hyper.
Okay.
You know
Just
what I
like
mean?
couldn't sit still, had to always be doing something type hyper?
Yeah, like extremely hyper, like couldn't sit still, then couldn't sleep. I don't think I slept for like 2 weeks.
Oof, that'll fuck with your mind.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like, I don't think I slept for 2 weeks. And it was like off and on. Maybe I'd get a nap here and there, but it was like my body was just extra hyper. The emotions were extra like fiery. My mind was racing, sensitive. Yeah, like it was a bunch of things going on at the time. And like my friends from high school, we were still close. And I remember being a little aggressive, you know, in my behavior, especially with the females. I was a little aggressive, and you know, then I was just like hyper. And then when I was driving, I remember driving with my dad on the Cross Island. I was pushing like a rental, you know, for him or whatever. And I just remember like speeding on the highway for no reason. And he was behind me. And I remember like I was going so fast and didn't even realize it, that the two dudes were like beside me, like cursing me out, like, you know, just, and I didn't even realize what was going on. My father was like, you got to keep him from behind the wheel. But they didn't know what was going on yet. So these were all like the symptoms starting to show, you know. So extremely hyper, not sleeping, aggressive in behavior. And I was typically a mellow, chill type of dude. You know, like senior year in high school, I was voted friendliest.
Well, that rings true even to today.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I was also voted most likely to be on the cover of GQ magazine.
And once again, for our viewers that will be watching this on YouTube, this man, fashionable.
I got to let that be known. I got to let that be known. So, end of the day, I mean, you know, going through one extreme to the other, I was well respected in Elmont. I was well respected in Brooklyn. To go through a time period where I'm like on some feeling low, then feeling like I'm losing friends, then people are being judgmental, it was tough.
It's a compound effect at that point.
It was very tough, yeah. It was extremely tough.
You know, it kind of reminds me of what Alex was saying about really discovering who you are. And obviously yours is a mental issue, it's different, but figuring out who you are, what makes you you, love yourself, and do whatever you can for yourself to live the best life you can.
Right.
You know, that's plain and simple right there.
Battling your inner demons and beating them into submissions. This way you come out on top and in control at all times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you know, there might be a few things I'm leaving out too.
That's okay.
But I will say this, you know, before I got sick, I went on a 21-day fast on water. And that was my senior year in high school. And I remember my mom saying to me, son, you know, be careful, you know, because I used to fast a lot. And she was like, you know, be careful.
What was the reasoning for fasting?
The purpose of fasting is, you know, you're abstaining from what your, you know, luxury of life would be. You know, for me, it was the food. I love, and our family, everybody loves food. But when you abstain from that, it was like a sacrifice to really, you know, become one with yourself more and to show God, you know, where you are, where your heart is. And by that sacrifice, you're looking to get more insight from him, more wisdom from him. But I think when it comes to fasting, a lot of, you know, stories will tell you that when you fast, you're going to be tested. You know what I mean? So
I'm sure.
After the 21 days on water, you know, my prayer was that I would be able to help people. That was my sincere prayer. Like, I wanted to help people because I felt like coming up, like I said, going to school in Brooklyn and seeing a lot of violence, seeing a lot of things happen that, you know, I didn't like. I didn't like it. I never liked it. I never liked seeing, you know, people get hurt. And I also felt like I was privy to spirituality, which felt so good. You know, honoring God, doing right by somebody, doing the right thing for another person felt good. You know, for me, that was an experience that I wanted other people to feel. So, you know, I talked to God about it, and I'm like, I want to really help people, you know? So going on that fast was huge, and it was insightful. And I remember my mom saying to me, like, you know, son, you're very strong. You're going to be around a lot of important people, you know? And I think that at the close of that fast was the beginning of my testing. And I got tested, honestly, for about a good 12 years. And all the peaceful things that I was about was gone. Like, I lost friends. I had fits of rage. I was on medication, you know. I broke both of my hands in one night, you know, arguing with a girl that I was with at the time. She was like a true love, you know, but it just wasn't going to work out because I wasn't sane. I wasn't sound mentally. Yeah. And breaking both of my hands in one night and then going to the hospital, and then they had to adjust it. And then, you know, coming back home and my mom seeing me like this, it was tough on the whole family. You know what I'm saying? It was tough for friends to see me like that, family to see me like that. But
yeah, you never want to show your lows, you know, as much as you want help and you want to be able to have those loved ones and people around you.
Of course.
At your lowest lows, you almost want to be by yourself and you know, you don't want to show yourself in that state.
100%. 100%. That's how you feel. You almost feel like you want to isolate yourself.
Like internalize it and understand it.
Right. It was a lot. And it was a lot, John, it was a lot to process.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because for me, I'm just like, this is a whirlwind where, all right, Lord, all right, I want to help people, but this isn't what we agreed on. Yeah. You know, but I mean,
you said I'd have a mansion in the Hamptons by now. You said I'd be famous.
And I'll be honest, you know, I was always into the acting. You know, I did audition for a few different things, and I ended up on a show called Oz that was on HBO. I ended up on Sex and the City. I ended up on Law and Order. My passion was to get into acting, you know, for years, but taking this side path, I think it was like, you know, I'm thankful I went through this. You know what I mean? Like, no, nothing I had planned happened. You know, I was supposed to be married, kids, all the whole nine. I had everything planned out in my head. But, you know, most times I've noticed that people who have a calling on their life to reach people, to do whatever, it comes with a lot of sacrifice. It comes with a lot of sometimes pain, you know. And it also comes with some big rewards. But I think the topic of mental illness is a huge deal because we've seen people whose profile is just prolific, like a guy like Robin Williams. You know, your whole career has inspired people, made people laugh, and yet, you know, you took your life. You know, you battled depression. I think stuff like that is disheartening as well. So I think on a spiritual basis, whether I'm talking about communities that are lacking or are big in violence and lacking more resources, or I'm talking about a high-end actor who was amazing at what he did but yet took his own life, the bottom line is that there needs to be a level of restructuring the spirit, the mind, and the body on a daily basis to improve it. And I think people aren't aware of how to do that. And I think for me, my personal experience, I was broken down for a few years and I got through thus far today. You know what I mean? And sharing my story, hopefully it motivates somebody. Hopefully it pushes someone else to be like, nah, if he did it, then I could do it too. You know, because you can. You know, you can. You don't have to be a victim to, you know, there's some people out there that they have a bad breakup and they don't know how to handle it. You got people out there that have low self-esteem and don't want to be here because of that. And all it takes is you understanding you can build from where you are. You can start today from where you are to get to another level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Simple things, man.
Well, it's like if you look at Kai Green's a good example of that. He had nothing when he started this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was cooking on a hot plate, and I remember a story about a George Foreman grill. That's basically all he had.
Wow.
And he became one of the best bodybuilders in the world.
Yeah.
And very, very near the top bodybuilder in the world. And obviously a lot of people believe he should have been.
100%. I think so.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
But came from...
I'll third that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But came from nothing at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you have so many people nowadays that go, oh, well, I could be that good, but, you know, I don't have a professional chef. I don't have time to cook. You're a student. Well, you have plenty of time to cook. Come on. It's because you want to go out drinking, you want to hang out with your friends. You got to make those social sacrifices. If you truly want to be a bodybuilder, you have to make social sacrifices.
You got to work. Yeah, you got to put in the work.
You got to put in the work, but it's 24 hours a day.
Absolutely.
So you got to go to bed on time. You got to wake up on time. There's no going out. Alcohol slows everything down and fucks it all up.
Yeah, and Kai's like a king in like India now. Like that dude is like on Stranger Things. He's a SAG actor.
Yeah.
So you talking like next level status, and you're absolutely right. Like it takes 100% sacrifice and commitment.
You know, it was bodybuilding is still, I'd say, one of the smallest sports in the world, besides the really weird ones out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you took somebody prolific in the smallest sport in the world and turned him to basically a household name.
Big time.
You know?
I think he has a doll that he's been promoting lately.
Yeah.
Like,
Mini Kai.
I think he just carries. He
pulled-
doesn't
he
promote
pulled
it.
that-
He just carries it around with him.
He pulled that shit out when I was recording it. I was like, what the fuck is that?
No, he carries it around whenever he feels flat. He pulls it out.
It's like, what? I was like, you better put that thing away.
you gotta respect Kai, man.
Nah, he's the
Of
homie.
course,
He's all
of
been
course.
fine. And,
I've
Yeah.
never
rock
had a bad interaction with him. Every time I filmed him, hey Nick, yo, listen, I appreciate you being here
Yeah.
so late because he trained so long. And I'm like, dude, I'm here till you're done, man. I don't care.
Yeah.
And even, yo, can I get you a meal? Can I get you some water? What do you need? What do you need from me? Just really good dude. So I have no bad experiences with him.
I remember even when I was 19 years old, I believe at the time, 19 or 20, whatever. I was on the edge of that, and I met him at Bev's, and I was like, holy shit, it's Kai Green. And I was fangirling a little bit, so I asked him for a picture, and had a whole conversation with him for a good 5 minutes about just psychology and bodybuilding and the mind. I'm like, wow.
Was his manager Adam there at the time?
I don't even know. No,
Yo, his manager.
I didn't know what he looked like at the time.
Yo, his manager Adam, and if Adam listens to this, he's gonna fucking message me. Yo, he after a while, everybody wants an autograph from him.
Yeah.
Everybody. We
Really?
went to the Arnold. He couldn't walk a foot without getting stopped by like 10 people, 5 people, 10 people, 5 people. Everyone swarming him. After a while, I said, I'm going to make a video documentary on Adam's reactions. Because after a while, he's in the background like this. Guys, Kai's got to go. We got to get this shit going.
He gets to the point, guys, I got to take a shit. Come on.
And Kai's like the good guy. So Kai's like, oh no, I'll go sign another well side, because he wants to be there for the
Kai's
people.
like that.
And
He's like
Adam, but Adam's got a strong arm people. He's like, all right, get the fuck going. And I was starting to take pictures of his reactions and his face the entire weekend. I'm like, this is amazing. This is gold. And everybody listening, there's the trademark vacuum in the background. Every episode.
Dyson, send the check.
Dyson, yes. Dyson,
Yeah,
send the
like,
check.
I remember hearing this for Arash.
She walked in the room.
Oh,
She
yeah.
opened the door and stuck her head out. I'm like, this. I'm like, fuck out. Like, get out. He's on a rant. And Arash is like, what's going on? I'm like, shit, he's over. I want to get into like a little bit of the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
And like I said, as much, as little as you want.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep it real just because the more that we put out there, the more that we talk about,
100%.
the more it'll help out.
Honesty is better,
Definitely.
bro.
So you're going through these changes, you're feeling different,
Yeah.
and you're noticing that you're getting a little bit more aggressive and just in general, like I said, these changes are occurring. Now, my question to you, and a lot of people don't have the same relationship with their boys and stuff that I do. I'm sure you're close, but did you feel like you couldn't talk to your boys about this, about some of the stuff that you were going through?
It's a half and half answer I can give because I feel like I wasn't in my right mind to have a conversation.
That's okay.
You know, I recently saw one of my homegirls. We went to high school together, and I remember she told me my mother pulled into the kitchen and was like, "Please look out for him. He's not himself." And I was looking at her like, "Yo, we had this conversation. Like we talked about stuff," and she was like, "Yeah, like you." She said it was hard for you to speak at that time.
Okay.
So I feel like a lot of times when I was going through something, my brothers were the easiest people to speak to at times. But again, you almost feel like you want to isolate.
Yeah. Now, was it you didn't want to look like, not weak, but you didn't want to look downtrodden in front of family and friends? Like almost like you weren't 110%, so you didn't want to project that out. You wanted to almost solve it yourself?
You know what? I don't think I saw a solution at the time.
Okay.
I honestly didn't see a solution. I more felt unable. I felt unable to do anything. Like it was one of the most, you're stripped of the ability to make the best cognitive decisions you can make. So having a rational conversation or saying how you feel, it more came out in anger and frustration or isolation or, I'm back to hearing voices, like I can't have a conversation with anyone when I'm dealing with voices in my head. It's a messed up thing to go through. It's kind of crazy I'm talking about it right now and I'm like, today, where I am today versus then, it's like, oh shoot, you know, I sometimes forget where I was at that time. But when I could have a conversation, because when you go into the institute, you end up on a lot of medication, you know, and it numbs you to everything else. So you sort of become like a zombie. And I feel bad for people that are experiencing that, because you sort of lose a piece of yourself to the medication. So at that time, Rizzles, I can't say I had trouble expressing myself. I more so was not myself.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So a lot of things, it was hard to talk at that time.
And the voices.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to tell me what they were saying, or what was it like?
So many, bro.
Were they distinctful people? Were they relatives that you knew, or was it just
Sometimes, honestly, sometimes it was like voices of, you know, man, it was voices of like a relative, or it could be just random voices. And, you know, sometimes you're thinking it's your thoughts, and it was very negative things. Like, you know, sometimes it would be just the thought of, or the voice of something saying, you know, yo, you don't need to be here. You got to go. You'll never fit in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're hearing multiple things and
putting you down.
When my mind was racing, I heard like all types of voices. When I wasn't sleeping, I heard all types of voices. And this was before the medication. I think the medication helped a lot with like calming everything down. But at that time, it was like, man, you heard all types of negative stuff. Suicidal thoughts, you know, like it was rampant. It was just like a overflowing, overwhelming type of like thoughts going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
Very. My mom and I've had some pretty crazy experiences. Really, when I was younger, I was more sensitive to it when I was younger. My mom had heard me talking in my crib when I was little. We're talking like 3, 4, and going, "Who are you talking to? What's going on?" And I'd say, "God," and she would really go, "Wow." And my mom is very spiritual. My mom has degrees in feng shui. Like, she studied Buddhism, but we're also Christian.
Yeah.
We're Catholic. You know, I don't even fucking know. We're one of those. I think just one's more strict, to be quite honest with you.
I got you.
But you know, my mom was always very spiritual. My mom used to see when somebody would pass, like a relative or something like that, almost like they say your relatives come to you when they pass, almost like a final goodbye. My mother has had countless relatives come where she feels like she's crazy and like, what the hell's going on? And then you realize, like, it looks like it's more of like a in the corner of your eye type thing.
Yeah.
And my mom couldn't, like, when I said I was talking to God or Jesus or something like that, she never, like, she kept trying to get me to point to pictures. She'd go, "Is this who you saw? You know, is this who you were talking to in your room?" And I'd go, "No." And she'd go, you know, she's not, just trying to figure shit out.
Yeah.
And then one day I was at her friend's house and I screamed and I said, "It's him." And my mom and her friend run inside. They go, "What?" She goes, I said, "That's who it is." And I pointed to a picture, and it was her friend's brother that died a couple years earlier. And they said, "Him?" And she picked up the picture, and I said, "No, move them out of the way. It was a Sacred Heart picture."
Oh, wow.
So we've had some like
I think
stand up on your arms type stuff.
100%.
And I don't think that all this is a coincidence.
No.
I strictly do believe, I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's God. I don't know if that, you know what I'm saying? But I do know that this shit doesn't just happen coincidentally. This stuff, we're all here on a mission. We're all here doing our best. You know, that's really what the podcast was brought out to do as well. It was to inform people that, you know, looking at John, looking at myself, looking at you, looking at Arash, everybody that we've had on and we're going to have on, there's more than just the person that you see on social.
Of course.
There's more than just what you think this person knows. Who the fuck would have thought Steve Laureus would know about Eastern medicine?
Fuck if I know.
Like, we've had some real talks, and we're gonna continue having these real talks. But I wanted to touch on that for the voices, because I've had my own experiences spiritually, so I understand where it may sound crazy to some, doesn't sound crazy to me. More of the negative thoughts, I think, is more on the mental side of things.
Yeah.
Sure.
But some of the other ones that I'm sure you experienced maybe was a realignment.
I mean, I have a cool spiritual side story to tell. Like, I remember my boy Bun. We called him Bun around the way in Elmont. You know, we used to be on the street a lot, do like parties, different things. But he was a good dude, you know. And he would check on me here and there. And I remember when I was sick, when I was really off, I would have like a vision of Bun like climbing the back of the house like a spider. And I would say that, you know, to the family, and they were just like, oh man, here we go again. He's off, you know. And it was crazy because 5 years later, right? 5 years later, doorbell rings and Bun is at the front door. And he has on, no exaggeration, he has on a pair of sweatpants with spiders on it. He has a jacket with like a big spider on the back, right? And then to tip it off, he has on like these shoes with spiders on it. And I'm like, yo, dude, what's up with the spiders?
Who spoke to you? Who told you? Who told you?
Did you get a spider?
What's going on,
did you get a
man?
spider sponsor?
And you know, he was just like, nah, like, you know, like I always looked at the spider like as one of the hardest working insects, like it, you know, the way it spins the web and this and that. He was always into them. And I just felt like sometimes you do have a gut feeling or a gut check on something, you know? And I think
deja vu, man. I
get that a lot.
Dude, hard too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think there's a
I freak myself. I'm
difference.
like, what the? Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I gotta take a step back. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, it hits you.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between understanding how your mind is going through something really negative and understanding, like you said, there's a chemical imbalance. And then there's a difference between having a spiritual encounter. There's a difference between having a gut or a vibe or an energy check on something. And I think that you can't confuse the two, you know?
Yeah.
You have to equate things and add things up, because I think on a spiritual level, there should always be peace at the outcome, at the end result. I think on a physical, chemical imbalance level, you're going to have some irrational behavior. And you have to be able to tell the two apart. Spiritual encounters, again, should be peaceful, should be calm, should be insightful, you know, should lead to progression, should lead to the bettering of something. I think anything involved in this, I mean, listen, spirituality can also be evil. Okay, so let me not throw that out. Spirituality is either good or evil, and I think that if you embark on a spiritual journey, a lot of people define their own spirituality. For me, I'll make this clear. Like, I read from Genesis to Revelation. I fasted and I prayed. I wasn't trying to follow the religion that's man-made. I was just following, and I have been trying to follow the Holy Bible. That's what I read, you know? No disrespect to any other religion or whatever anybody else believes, but that's just where I've been. That was my experience. And me going through what I went through and me being here today, this is still my experience. This is still where I stand. You know what I mean? So for me, that's my spirituality. And my spirituality is aware of evil and good, right and wrong.
Yeah.
Bottom line, 100% on that level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, speaking on evil, and then I know you probably have something to say, but speaking on evil, like we had an evil interaction. So my mom will sometimes help out friends. They were having, and she'd be like, "Why are you telling this? People are gonna think we're fucking nuts." My mom would sometimes have friends reach out to her because they'd have some weird shit going on in the house, like not like demons and shit like that, but just some weird spiritual activity.
Yeah.
And they know that she doesn't think it's crazy and she understands things. And they had a still image of a baby cam, and they sent it to my mom. And I don't know if I can get the image, but if I can, I'll put it up there. But you see the baby sleeping, and then you see like two faces around the baby.
Oh, that sounds like a horror movie.
They were having some weird shit going on in the house too.
Get out of
So
here.
my mom knows how
Yeah,
to,
you leave that house.
I'm telling you, man. So my mom knows how to
Fuck outta
clear
there.
houses, like
really?
a little bit.
Okay.
She cleared the house. Everything was fine. You're supposed to cleanse yourself when you're done cleaning a house, technically. She didn't. She came home to our fucking house and she brought that thing home with us.
Oh boy.
We're in my room. She's folding clothes. I'm on my bed with the dog. R.I.P. Cookie. That's my girl. I'm on the bed with the dog. No, I'm sorry. The dog was on the floor. I was on my bed playing Xbox or something. And all of a sudden, I see the hallway's dark, but I see the corner of my eye, and I shit you not. on all fours, something crawling on like its back, and it went from the side of my hallway. I'm getting the chills, man. The side of my hallway into my den. I saw it.
Yeah.
My mom saw it, and the dog went nuts and ran after it. Never seen her get a defensive and attack mode.
I was
like
gonna
that.
ask you, like, how did Cookie respond?
Cookie was never like that.
Dogs are they're very.
She
they
was
see stuff, man.
she was 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Full on.
Yeah.
Nasty,
Ready to
and
go.
she ran.
Ready to go. Yeah.
Couldn't find. That was it. I said, "What the fuck was that?
Yeah,
what was just crawling through this house?" My mom told me I just cleared a house like a day ago. I didn't do it. I didn't get it off of myself. Something must have clung to me. And I said, "You better clean this goddamn house. I'm sleeping on the park. I ain't sleeping here no more." But evil, good spirits. You have everything. You know.
There's a lot. There's a lot out there. I think people are not. They're not aware. And I mean, it's funny because the worst thing that I hear is, many people question God, and they, listen, you have every right to do that, but I never hear people deny evil.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people will run to deny God and say, well, if there was a God, and it's like, as much as there can be God and there's evil, there's choice. There's the power of choice with certain things. Certain things are not the power of choice, but we can't deny evil and the evil that's out there. Like, for me, the number one thing I think of is when dudes ran the planes into the buildings, man, 9/11. That is evil, man. And it's evident, and a lot of people say, well, if there was a God, like, one thing we have on this earth as human beings is the power of choice, the ability to make decisions. We have the ability to have faith, or we have the ability to produce more doubt. We have the ability to do the right thing and be disciplined, like you are, John, and stepping on stage and looking massive, or
looking extra juicy,
or not taking care of your health and your body deteriorates, man. So I think that choice is out there, and God doesn't interfere with our choices. He gave us a gift of choice. Now, what we do with it can turn into a curse. You know what I mean? We can choose to live a cursed life by doing the wrong thing, or we can do the right thing. And I think we have a conscience that tells us that. I think we know, for the most part, right from wrong. You know what I mean? So we have decisions on a daily basis that we should make. That's my outlook, Yeah,
because what I was going to say is, for me, I'm not a religious guy in the slightest bit at all. But I'm always the type of person where, do unto others as you want done to yourself. Be a good guy. Don't be an asshole. And the most narcissistic thing somebody can say is, "Oh, there is no God. There is no devil," because I don't believe in it. But I'm not one to say there isn't. How the fuck do I know?
Nobody knows.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe you guys are right. Maybe that St. Louis fucking arch right behind you, the picture. Maybe that's God. Who knows? Or that's God's wife's U-ring because they don't want to get her pregnant.
Oh my God! Wow!
We're getting deep. We're getting deep. We're figuring it out.
Get him out.
That's on you. Hey, John, that's on you, man. You got to deal with that one, bro.
That was
I
on.
just got to text him the social services. Hold on a second.
Hey, God, I want to let you know that was on John's audio track. That wasn't on Nick's. This is why we bought the dynamic mic, so the audio tracks can't get mixed up.
But what I was saying is, the only thing I have a problem with is like what you said, which I respected, is you read the book yourself, right?
Yep.
And you said, I'm going to follow my life based off this.
Yep.
Based off your own interpretations of it. When a religion starts asking for money and saying you have to pay us for this or else you're not going to be like everybody else, then it gets a little sketchy. Well, hold on a second. Are you running a business without taxes? Or are you just trying to make a couple bucks? Or are you genuinely trying to help these people?
That was that was a topic on Joe Rogan when
that must be where I heard it. Yeah,
when he was talking with Bill Burr, and
he went in on it.
They had me laughing my ass off though, because Bill was they were talking about Joel Osteen, and they were saying how much fucking money that guy's making, and they were saying they were dude, it's like $500 a ticket to go to mass and just go to his service.
Yeah, I mean, let me speak on it from my perspective. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I could say I've overcome my mental illness, and I attribute a large portion of that to my spirituality and my faith. Okay. But at the same time, like being here today, there's really only one thing I can say is training people today and being in a place today where I'm setting foot on land that belongs to some millionaires and some billionaires, no exaggeration. And the one thing that I've noticed is that, you know, whether there's a large level of financial wealth or coming from a very poor neighborhood, people need to be spiritually built up. It's not my place to judge whether they're a pastor or whether they're an atheist. I'm not on the throne. I don't judge anything. What I can say is, in my discernment and in my understanding, people that are in the highest level financially or people that are in the poorest level on this earth need help. People that are on social media looking for answers, they need help. Our president needs help. Every single person on this earth needs help. And it's not my job to ever come to an opinion about you. And at times I have done that. You feel me? Like,
yeah, we're all guilty of it. We say we try not to judge people, but you do.
As a human being, I can say that I've done it plenty of times, but the one thing I believe in is self-checking. I don't need to check you. I don't need to check you. At the end of my day, I got to check myself. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah,
you got to live with yourself.
You got to live with yourself. You got to live with your wrongs. You got to live with your rights. So when it comes to looking at, you know, the state of churches or the state of people taking advantage of people, I think that I'll say it again. There's a difference between good and evil, and there's a difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
Bottom line. That's just my take. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know what it's like? Say there's somebody that, let's just say heaven's real, right? And you have somebody who praises God's name every single day, goes out, stabs babies. Oh, but I praise his name, I'm going to go to heaven. No, you're not. You did bad things your whole life, even though you said, no, I'm a good guy, I'm a good guy, I'm a good guy. I believe somebody who doesn't believe in religion whatsoever, but still lives a good life, tries to treat people right, and just does the good thing, he has way better of a chance to get up there than somebody who fakes it, says, like I said, they pray every day, they go to church every Sunday, and they live just a bad life, screwing people over, just being a bad person.
Well, it's also what you project out into the universe.
Exactly.
I'm big on nip, maybe. Nip, right? Come on now.
Yeah, talk on it. Yeah.
Spoke some things to the universe, and they appeared.
Talk on it.
You know, projecting.
100%.
Mental.
The marathon continues. Man.
Bringing yourself in, man, and setting yourself up mentally for good shit and doing good by others.
Yep.
Man, I preach this all the time to everybody. You know. People I'm in relationships with that get to see me on a real personal level. I have zero sugarcoating ability. I say it how it is, but I also am good to everybody. I don't give a fuck if I'm with a drug dealer. I don't care if I'm with a gang member. It could be El Chapo. Doesn't matter to me. If this person is treating me good and they project kindness and love to me, I have zero reason to treat them any differently.
Exactly.
I give all new experiences with new people the same starting point. Hey, what's going on, man? My name's Nick. You know, like when we met, that was a fresh start for us to build a canvas of being boys, being brothers, and just saying love to each other. You know, I told a bunch of young kids at Bev's, young kids, I sound like a fucking 90-year-old. Jesus, get me a cane for my birthday next month. I told younger kids, they were like, they're 18, 19 at Bev's. Real good kids. They ask me for advice a lot. They ask me workout tips and just, they even come to me for just life shit going on. And I tell them all the time, just be kind to everybody. You may outgrow some of your friends. You know, people go on different paths, good and evil. And overall, just enjoy the time spent with good people. I tell all my boys, I love you when I get off the phone. I've said it to you too.
Yeah.
Say it to you.
I said it right back to you.
I say I love you to all my homies, my boys, because God forbid, I don't know if I'm ever going to say that again. Or I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to say that again to somebody because you don't know when that bell is going to toll for you. So my perspective is, if I'm around these people, I love them. If I'm taking the time away from my business, the podcast, doing these things to not only build something great, but to try to get great information out to people and maybe enlighten their day a little bit, I'm gonna I want to be around those good people. I'm taking my time. So
Definitely.
everybody that in my personal life, that's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times people think I'm talking like a girl on the phone. I'd be like, all right, I love you, bro. Or I love you, boo. Like, I'll say it to my boys.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? Like, yeah. I said, you don't tell your friends you love them? Why the fuck you hang out with them then?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And like I said before, I came in with a heavy heart, losing one of my best friends, childhood till now. Let me speak on him real quick because his name was Anil, but they called him Micro Don Dada. He was a great DJ in Brooklyn, and something that I really respect about him, he was suffering from seizures from the age of 14, and he passed away within the past 3 weeks, and he was out late. He was at a party, and you could see on social media he got a lot of love that night. And then he had a seizure and he passed away on his own. But I want to say, you wouldn't know that he was having complications because he had to deal with medication. At one point, he had a seizure and fell down steps and had like screws in his leg. Every time you saw this dude, he was singing a song. He was the loudest person in the room. He was vibrant. And I think that's the essence of what we have in life. Like, capturing your moment, not letting your situation, your illness, something you're facing, the challenges you're facing, disrupt you from living your best life. You know what I mean? And that's something that forever I can think of with him, because he never, like, we were in Vegas last year or the year before for my brother's bachelor party, and there wasn't one time he was like, all right, I got to take these meds and I got to lay up. And he partied with us the whole entire time. We didn't know how serious this was because he didn't talk about it. And I just respect the fact that he lived every moment with enthusiasm, with that kind of passion. And when he threw a party, when he was the MC, because he did a lot of MCing, when he was MCing, it was like, my goodness, the amount of energy he brought. Let me tell you, this dude is not bigger than 5'3". Michael was short. That's why I call him Michael.
All right.
But I was about to say, you better not say he's 5'7". I'll get out this chair.
But let me say this, though. Like, he had the personality of a giant. He had the personality of a giant. So I have to, pay so much respect to him, and I feel like that's how we carry the legacy of people, of fallen soldiers that have left us, that are true and dear to us. And in conjunction with what you're saying, bro, like, you don't know what you have tomorrow. It's not guaranteed that we get to share another moment. So don't take the little things for granted. Don't take that opportunity to say I love you, or to forgive, or to let something go. Don't take that for granted, because the honesty of it is, that's your legacy, is how you treated other people. Whether you want to be religious or not, whether you want to have a belief or a faith or not, how you treat people is the only thing you have.
Good vibes only. That's all
Absolutely.
I want.
That's it.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So it's got to be a respect level, and I agree with you 100%. You got to let people know you love them. And if you're not loving, man, get rid of the hate, man.
Out of it.
Get rid of it.
Throw that salt back on the spice rack. Get it out of here. I don't want that shit around me.
I agree.
I want to get into mental health. Why it's such a big one. I'd also like to get into mental health and how social impacts on that. We've touched upon it a little bit in other podcasts. That's like a trigger point for me.
Yeah.
It's become...
It turns into those ass pics.
Those motherfucking ass pics.
And then you just go off.
All these dumbass guys liking all this shit. You never even fucking look at your profile. Stop being an asshole. I hate that shit. But regardless, we'll get there. I know you were saying that you were going through the changes and dealing with it all. What age did you get put in? Now, what is the correct term? Put into the institute?
Admitted.
Okay, I like that.
I was admitted into the institute. I was admitted, I want to say 19.
And
did
19.
you do it yourself, or was it your family?
My family.
Okay.
I didn't have the... I didn't. My family did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And going in there, what was it like the first like week?
Scary as hell.
I'm sure. That's
tell
why.
you something,
That's why I
man.
want to know, because that is some scary shit.
I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
I was seeing things and hearing voices, and I remember my first night in the institute. And you know, you go in, and in my room there was three beds, two beds. My bad. And there was a dude like wrapped in like all of his sheets. And the shit looked scary because I'm like, yo, are you alive, yo? Like,
I don't like that.
are you gonna turn? Like, yo, what's going on? Like, how is it here? And I swear to you, I went in and the room was dark, and I didn't want to turn the light on. This dude flip out of his sheets, and it's like a fucking snake. I don't know. I don't know what was wrapped in the sheets, but I remember turning my back and like taking my clothes out and putting it up. And this woman came behind me, and she just kept saying the word Ed, and she kept repeating. It was like a horror movie, yo. It was like she was behind me. It frightened me.
It's like fucking Shutter Island.
Yo, dude, like it scared me. So I was like, you know, at first I was like hesitant, scared, and nervous, and you know, still dealing with my own head not being right. And then you go through different things, man. I mean, there's like ups and downs in there. There's, you know, they start putting you on medication. They start putting you into the groups.
Now, were they, and I don't want to interrupt you, but were they locked? Was it like not like a cell, but was it like a locked door, or was it you free to come and go inside?
In the area I was in, you were free to like
Move about.
Mm-hmm. You know, throughout the day they had like a smoke break where you could go outside and chill. They had like a little basketball area. I think I kicked the basketball out of the basketball area a few times out of anger, but no, they had like smoke breaks, and you go outside, and then during the day, if you were in just on the compound area, you just, you know, walked around. You made friends with some people. Some people were really cool. I made a lot of friends in there. And,
That's good.
It was tough though, because some people you made friends with, you know, they didn't last. You know, that was the toughest thing, like seeing things and making friends with somebody, and next thing you know, they're telling you, oh, you know, such and such didn't make it. You know, and that was a harsh reality for me.
And when they say he didn't make it, or they didn't make it,
they let you know that they
passed on.
Yeah. He,
Okay.
You know, committed suicide, like real talk, like,
Wow.
you know. So, I went through that a few times. You know, like I experienced that a few times, but being around there, I kept in touch with a few people, and you know, maintain as much friendships as I could, you know, at that time. But it was nerve-wracking at first. Then you almost like, for me, any environment that I'm in, I'm gonna just like own it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I showed love. I did get into a lot of altercations in it though. Like you know, I had very irrational behavior, so it could have been me fighting the staff. Sometimes I would see something and it made me bug out, and I'd back myself up into a corner and just be like, yo, whoever comes in here, now, you know, we're gonna throw hands. And I'd be fighting, and they throw you down, they tranquilize you and put you in a room. You know what I'm saying? Lock you in it. And I went through that a lot of times because my chemistry was off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You still
Like,
weren't, your equilibrium, everything wasn't
chemical-
balanced
it was a
off.
Chemical imbalance, man. Like, you know, it's a tough thing to, again, look back and say, damn, that's what I went through. But I think everything has a purpose.
1000%.
You know, so me being where I am today and being able to do what I do today, I think it's more effective because I'm not training people from a standpoint of, you know, just being physically fit. You got to be mentally fit if you want to train with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be at a place where you're willing to build yourself up mentally, because I have to do that on a daily basis. I've just been doing it for a while, and now you get into a rhythm. But back to at that time it was just a lot. It was a lot to soak in, and I was in that program for roughly, I want to say 4 years.
Okay. I know. And after 4 years, what happens?
You know what? They were telling me things like, the doctors were saying, you know, you're going to be on medication the rest of your life. And I couldn't do that.
Well, it's easy for them to drug people up. I'm very anti-medical. I'm very anti-medicine system.
Yeah.
I think I say this often. I don't know if I said it to you or somebody else at the gym the other day. It definitely wasn't. I don't think it was you. I said something like, you know, the medical industry doesn't make money if you're healthy.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And of course, they're going to continue to push drugs,
100%.
even if you don't need it. Even if there's
100%.
like a 0.1% chance you need that drug,
Right.
they're going to put, oh yeah, you need to be on this for the rest of your life, because they want to continue making that residual income.
Absolutely.
And they want to continue getting the money and the kickback from all the medications.
Yeah, well, they don't want to treat your illness. They just want to give you something for it. Mm-hmm. They don't want to say, well, let's get to the root cause of why there's something wrong with you. Here, take this and give me my check.
Band-Aids.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, you guys are 100% on the money. And that's why when I came out of the program, at one point I was like, I told my mother, I said, listen, Mom, I can't do the meds anymore. And when I came off the medication, that was the second round of battles that I had to face. That was the worst part of going through what I went through, because I was starting to get a grip on trying to feel things out. But then when you're off the medication's numbing your emotions. It's numbing you, it's sedating you, it's making you less of who you are. So when you come off, you're like an animal out of its cage, Part of you is just like wants to go wild, and part of you is just like, so I had bouts and fits of rage. Not fits of anger, like fits of rage. Like I didn't know how to control situations. And I went through a lot of seasons of ups and downs, of course, but a lot of seasons of building. I had to build up my mind. I had to build up my body. I went through one point where I was just working out. Then I went through another point where I was reading my Bible every night. Then I went through another point where I was reading positive thinking books, self-help books every day. And each season was broken down, like for months at a time, like just working on me,
blocks.
on me.
Little blocks.
Little blocks, bro. And each segment of that time period was a learning curve, and each segment of that was more self-development. And I had to relearn how to love myself, build myself up, and take care of myself. And it was difficult, but thank God I'm here today.
Amen.
I'm here doing this.
Yeah.
So but it was a huge rebuilding process that it taught me, the biggest thing it taught me was, number one, true wealth is here. I said that in the video. True wealth is in your mind and in your spirit, and then whatever you create off of the wealth that's in you, it will manifest itself in the physical. You know what I'm saying? But what you have in your mind and in your spirituality is the biggest and most important part of who you are. You can't take anything with you when you're gone, but you can leave an impact. You can leave influence on people. And I think that's a bigger deal. Like, don't get me wrong. Do I want success? Do I like a nice vehicle? Do I like nice homes? Sure. I'd love to have all that.
Who doesn't?
But bottom line for me is, did I have an impact on the people that are in my life, and maybe on a stranger? I've gone to speak to kids at different high schools, and I just believe that you should more build towards helping others. And that was my prayer 20 years ago. And I think that this is just the start of bigger things to come, because I feel like there's a void in our society that doesn't deal with this stuff enough. I feel like there are some hitters out there. Brandon Marshall's a big guy on mental health. There are a lot of other people, actors. Taraji P. Henson, she's speaking a lot about mental health and the disorders in a lot of homes. So I just think that there needs to be more of it, because we confuse and we misconstrue proper health and wealth here, mentally and physically. We misconstrue it for maybe sometimes outside, the social media, or how you look, or what you have, or what you own. And that does not define who you are. You feel me? Like,
no, I feel you.
Does not
100%.
define who you are. So
if anybody feels you, it's this man to your left. I feel you.
Yeah. So I think social media is, for me, John, I compete too. I haven't competed in a while. It's been a while, but I plan on getting back on stage.
It's awesome.
And that's why I wanted to speak more on the mental health before showing physical gains and showing, my body striated and all that good stuff, because I feel like it lures people into this. Honestly, it can have a negative impact on people.
Absolutely.
People that are not in shape. People that are not that are suffering with, how they look at themselves. And I want people to understand, if I compete and I get on stage, know that I overcame some things mentally too. Know that I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Know that I did not give up on myself. And know that my bodybuilding does not define who I am. It is just one small fraction of who I am.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You got to get your inside right first.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
100%.
Before you can make an exterior, you got to figure out what's going on the inside.
You have to.
You can have the nicest car in the world, but if the motor doesn't work, what's it worth?
You got it.
You know?
Yeah. So I mean, that's the key is, you know, not putting up a shell, and not having the substance and the essence of truly having something to help people. You know, do I want to help people with their health? Do I think looking good is a good thing? Sure. Why not? You should look good. You only get one body, one life, one time. So make it count. But don't lose the focus on what's important, you know? And you got to have balance.
Absolutely.
Social media is a good front. It's a very easy way to make life seem grandiose and amazing, and you're always on a high and there are no lows. You know, now I've mentioned it multiple times. I use it for business. I use it to network. I have people hit me up for photos and videos, and I talk to people in the messages, and I'll share. There's like a couple of small accounts that I not small, they're big accounts, but they're a couple of funny accounts that I follow, and I'll send some shit to my buddies to laugh and stuff like that. But I can't follow the celebrities. I can't follow actors and stuff like that. And the reason I can't do that is because everything looks amazing. Or these influencers.
Oh God.
I have a lot of people that ask me, do you follow Bradley Martin and all these people? No, I don't fucking follow him. He doesn't do anything for me. There's no information that he has that I haven't already learned from real bodybuilders. Not to say that he isn't, but he isn't. and you know, to me, somebody who's always got to prove how great their life is, it's not so great. It's not so great because people that are sound with themselves, they project goodness. They don't need to show off every aspect of their life. They don't need to show their cars, their house every 5 seconds. You know, right after I competed to speak on mental health, after I competed, I wasn't told about rebounding. And it was a very dark day for me, or not day, weeks, months.
That's tough.
What the hell has happened?
Yeah, it was, you know, not a lot of people know about it. I've showed very few people the photos of what I look like. I think I showed you the photo. We talked about it briefly, but the mental aspect of it, I never really touched on. And what came after the show of a 23-week prep and giving up partying in college for that first point, really what kept fueling me was my relationship ended the year before, and I was devastated. And I was so depressed that I didn't know what else to do with myself. And it was my first time being away at school and a bunch of other shit. And I didn't really know what to do, but I had joined Bev's and I said, let me do a bodybuilding show. So let's fast forward a year later, after a 23-week prep, after being home all summer, turning down friends to go out and drink and do things and staying strict with my stuff. And 3 days after my show, I'm up 35 pounds. And my abs are gone, and I have love handles, and...
You look like a water buffalo.
Dude, it was fucking insane. I've never had suicidal thoughts.
Wow.
But the week to 2 weeks after that, being away at school, life goes on. Like, just because you did your show, you still got schoolwork to do. You still got shit. Wow. You still got... And
that's tough.
I'll never forget. I don't know if you know, he's an old school dude. Gino Sylvain. You know Gino? He used to train Victor Martinez back in the day. I met him at my first show. My mom's friend was using him as a coach. He very old school dude. Really good dude. You know, my coach at the time didn't even want to help me. He didn't want to help me rebound out, get out of the rebound. So Gino wound up helping me. You know, it was a really dark time being away at school, being surrounded by kids, doing drugs, drinking, and I knew I didn't want to do that because that would only push me further into a dark mindset. So I stayed consistent. I stayed with my training schedule and everything like that, but my mental health declined severely, and that was the first point in my life that I really had depression.
Wow.
And staying strict with myself, going to the gym, doing my damn thing, just trying to stay positive, hanging around two of my roommates who really helped me through a lot of it. And even my first semester away, they were just they were the two most positive people, and we would laugh and we would have fun and this and that dragged my ass out of that issue. And I wound up competing again in the spring. because that was in the fall, the first show. So I wanted to compete again in the spring, and like after that show, I said, yeah, I'll just have a burger and fry. I'm good. I'm just gonna keep this fucking light. But to my point is, like you said, depression, mental health issues, schizophrenia, severe diagnosis of mental issues has no color, it has no race, it has no gender or age. It could hit at any point, and it could hit anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't take prejudice and it's on everybody.
Yeah.
We're all people when it comes down to it. Doesn't matter what you look like, who you are.
100%.
And I do think it's a very important topic. Marco is going to be coming. I know we keep saying this every fucking episode. Marco's going to be coming.
We swear.
I swear, if he doesn't show up, I'm gonna be so upset. Nah, he's been good. We're just trying to schedule it with his wife and the kids, and it's hard. He's in the Bronx. But Marco went through some real dark shit when that can of Pam exploded on the countertop.
That looked tough, man.
Yeah.
That looked real tough. Yeah.
And he's gonna talk about what he went through. I mean, I'm not gonna share what he told me. I'm gonna let him share his story. But let's just say it really does show that no matter how positive and amazing the person, everyone has their dark days. Everyone gets tested and tried at some point in their life. Everyone's going to be hitting lows at some point. It's how you drag yourself out and rebuild yourself from the inside out.
Right.
So I agree wholeheartedly with your saying on that.
And I think it's important we have outlets because, you know, when I was coming up, you know, I didn't have social media. I didn't have podcasts around. I think this is important. What you guys are doing is, I mean, like I said, I didn't get to listen to the other dudes, but I listened to Arash. And, you know, the questions you guys were asking and this being part of the fitness world, it really helps to hear someone else's opinion, what they experienced, him talking about the Olympia, whatever topics you guys are discussing, you know, it creates an outlet. And I think in the world we live in of social media and all this other stuff, I think it's important to have forums like this. Because like you guys said, there will be vanity. You know, there will be people using social media for their own gains. And listen, you know, that's the power of choice, like we talked about earlier. But if we can, you know, have forums like this that speak on, you know, what Marco went through, Arash, Steve, whoever your guests are,
you
and myself,
absolutely.
You know, the bottom line is I think that, you know, a fitness podcast that engulfs so many different people and experiences, it edifies people. You know, it makes you say, if you're into learning or evolving, it makes you say, oh wow, I didn't know you went through that. Oh my goodness, I've been ashamed to talk about that. You know, or whatever the case is, you can relate. You can relate to people, and I think that this is important. People need more of these forums. You know what I'm saying? Something with substance. So I commend you guys, man. This is dope.
Thank you.
This is really dope.
You know what? It's a fitness podcast. It's not just about the muscles on your body, it's about the muscle in your brain.
Yeah.
Let's figure out who people are themselves, what they're going through, and you know what makes you. Figuring out. You look at you as a competitor, right? Nobody, like you said before, nobody would have any idea what you went through mentally. No. Not just to get there, but just to still be alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That comes first.
Yeah.
So, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
thank you guys for having me, man. This is just like a great experience. When you told me about it, I was like, I have to do this. Like, whenever Nikki Rizzles hits me up, I'm in. I'm in.
We're just, you know, it's in the description of the podcast on the information page. We want you to feel like you're in the room with us. We want you to feel like you're here having a conversation with us because, you know, it's not just about people that have huge social followings. It's not about that.
Yeah.
We just, the biggest thing that we want, and we say this on almost every outro, is we want people with depth. We want somebody that has gone through some shit because you know what? Everybody goes through some shit. And like you said, not everybody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
Especially when it's about themselves. So if you have somebody that's willing to talk about it and they're willing to discuss the real shitty parts that they've had to deal with and drag themselves back from it and are training millionaires, billionaires, and and the little old lady that you were telling me about that calls you family, you know?
I trained them all.
That's what I'm saying. There's no, it doesn't matter. And that's the same for us. There is no, you have to have this many followers on the podcast. You know, Alex was thrilled to jump on our podcast.
Oh, he was static.
Yeah, and I'm like, of course, you have an amazing story, and that's really what we're going after. We're going after people that bring something to the table, and it doesn't have to be bring something to the table for us to get it out there and clout chase. Bring something to the table for maybe that one person listening. Those three people listening.
That's what I was about to say. Is if your podcast can help if we can help at least one person listening every episode, because every single person we're going to have on has a completely different story. Everybody in the world is going through something completely different. So if we can help one person every episode, it's not like it costs us. We have a great time doing this. We love this.
Yeah.
We're happy to talk to you. We're happy to talk to everybody that comes on here and figure out what's going on with you and help people along the way. It's game over. Forget about it.
Game changer.
That's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
Is that how we're going to end it? That's how we have to end it right there. Game changer.
I'm all in.
But Leighton, I want to thank you for coming in. You've been outstanding, especially in sharing a lot of your experiences, which, once again, a lot of people would keep personal because they may not necessarily want it out there. But I know how into the game of helping others you are and being transparent. And that's really how I am. I know that's how John is. It's a great way to be because it helps a lot of people in the long run. So thank you for coming on and sharing.
It.
You are most welcome, man. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. And a lot of things that I want to put this out there too. It's not that a lot of things were not embarrassing. It was embarrassing for quite some time to, you just don't feel like you're a part. But I think that, and I'm just saying this to encourage anyone else that may feel low, embarrassed, not good enough. You are good enough. You have power inside of you. Recognize your hidden potential. Know that you are special. And know that if I'm here doing this, you could do it too. And that's why I'm here. So thank you guys for having me, man. I appreciate you both, for real.
Amen.
That was perfect right there. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. This has been another episode of The Voice
and Rizzles.
Signing out.
Peace.